A monstrous tempest ogre roars on the battlefield. A nearby detection device registers a powerful reaction from it. Facing the beast, a trio of female warriors prepares to engage. They acknowledge the creature's strength, noting it is dozens of times tougher than the high ogres they are used to, and resolve to attack it together. The ogre bellows, having finally located its true target, the one who led the hordes against it. Before the beast stands a lone figure in a dark cloak, his sword drawn and ready. He leaps into the fray, confidently declaring that the beast is no match for the 35th Frontier Battalion. He then corrects himself, stating that the ogre is no match for him personally. Below, his companions watch the display with confidence and amusement. The narrative shifts to the powerful kingdom of Designed. Ruled by King Farhad III, it is a nation with a formidable military that has conquered numerous countries, largely due to its high regard for skilled magicians. At the heart of the kingdom's absolute power are 7 court magicians, recognized by the king himself for their exceptional abilities. Known far and wide as the 7 Masters, their fame resonates across the land. The scene moves to the eastern border of Designed, at the frontline camp of the 35th Frontier Battalion in the Teutberg Grey Forest. Here, one of the 7 Masters, Arnold the Sloth, excitedly inspects the fangs of the defeated Tempest Ogre. He marvels at their immense magical power, already scheming to enhance them with magic stones. Lost in his excitement over the new materials, Arnold is approached by a subordinate. She informs him that the magic tool squad captain wishes to show him some newly crafted items. He agrees to go, introducing himself as Arnold von Eckenstein and reflecting on his 5 years of service in Valks, a veritable den of monsters. He arrives at a bustling workshop, thanking his subordinates for their hard work. The squad captain, a young man with glasses, greets Commander Arnold and asks about their progress. The captain presents him with a replenishment of the recovery potions he had used in the previous battle. After inspecting a vial, Arnold praises the squad's work. He notes the high and consistent quality of the potions, observing that everyone's skills are clearly improving. The captain thanks him for the compliment. The captain admits, however, that they have had some failures, as potion making requires a delicate touch. Upon hearing this, Arnold announces that since he is there, he will make a few potions himself. The declaration sends a shockwave of surprise and excitement through the assembled crafters. His subordinates marvel at the magical tool he is crafting, noting its exceptional purity and declaring that no magician in design can match their commander's skill. Their praise is cut short when a red-haired warrior rushes into the tent, calling for Envy and reporting an injury within the patrol squad. Following the urgent report, they find the injured soldier. She sits on the ground, clutching her arm in pain as the red-haired warrior and Envy kneel beside her. The wounded woman apologizes, explaining that she mistook her attacker for a simple goblin and let her guard down. Arnold steps forward with a determined expression, assuring the concerned warrior beside him, "I'll heal her." As he tends to her wounds, the soldier laments that she has lost her family and, as a second-class citizen, has nowhere to return. Arnold listens before sternly correcting her, stating that the monsters in Valks are on a completely different level and that even a moment of carelessness against a goblin can be fatal. He then reveals that nearly everyone in the 35th Frontier Battalion shares her background, hailing from conquered lands and branded as second-class citizens. Calling her an idiot, he softly admits that he is an orphan too, and that they are all in the same position. He declares that the battalion fights for each other as one, and he has resolved that not a single one of his subordinates will fail. This conviction was forged in the harsh reality of the Valks battlefield, where he learned his prestigious title of 7 Masters was meaningless. He recalls the daily sacrifices and the constant, unspoken fear that any of his subordinates could die the next day, a possibility he still regrets being unable to deny. Driven by this regret, he fought on the front lines, pushing his body and magic to their absolute limits, while also developing new magical tools to shift the tide of battle. Though he could have chosen the simpler path of craftsman, he found a unique happiness in this life he couldn't find anywhere else. It is a happiness found among his subordinates in the 35th Frontier Battalion, the loyal soldiers who believe in and follow him. As he sleeps from exhaustion at his desk, the red-haired warrior watches over him with a gentle smile, a testament to the bond they all share. The quiet is broken by a sharp beeping from an alert device. The warrior reports multiple reactions in the area with strange movements. Arnold, now awake, identifies them as ogres. Deciding to act quickly to prevent casualties, he orders the platoons to prepare to move out for subjugation. Meanwhile, in the forest, the battle is already lost for the forward scouts. A horde of powerful ogres overwhelms the soldiers, their swords useless against the brutes. One man is thrown to the ground, his horse rampaging in terror as the chaos consumes them. The hulking ogre looms over a fallen soldier, mocking his inadequate equipment and boasting that he'd be torn apart instantly. As it raises its fist for the final blow, it is suddenly dispatched. Arnold stands over the corpse, calmly inspecting it, and noting that the fangs of a Tempest ogre are quite good. He holds up the harvested fang, remarking on its lightness and contemplating polishing it with rare magic stones. Nearby, a red-haired warrior and Envy celebrate their own easy victory amidst a field of defeated monsters, their weapons still drawn. Turning to Envy and Marybell, he thanks them for their hard work. He dismisses the slain creatures as weaklings, noting they were part of the same Tempest ogre group they had defeated previously. His attention then shifts as he asks about Lila's whereabouts. A woman with glasses, Celia, asks him to handle the situation. He follows her gaze to find Layla passed out on the ground. Marybell explains that Layla drank too much and has no interest in the proceedings, though Layla mutters a faint denial in her sleep. Meanwhile, another member of their group hides away from the sun, pulling her dark hood down over her face. She cries out in protest, declaring her intense hatred for bright places. Celia approaches Arnold, observing the numerous corpses and commenting that he must be an expert at handling them. He corrects her with a smile, stating he's a necromancer, not mortician. Still eager for battle, he declares he wants to fight more, brushing off Celia's concerns and suggesting they simply take things one by one. His energetic declaration is interrupted by Ellie, who arrives cheerfully to announce that lunch is ready. From a distance, other soldiers watch in awe, remarking on the squad's carefree attitude in such a dangerous monster-infested area. One identifies it as the strength of Lord Arnold, one of the 7 masters, but another clarifies that it is the strength of his entire squad. The moment is broken by the arrival of a knight in full plate armor, who kneels respectfully before Arnold. Apologizing for the interruption, the knight explains they have come as a messenger, ordered by a certain person. Arnold regards the messenger, finding their sudden appearance unusual. The messenger, now revealed to be a woman, presents a scroll, declaring it an emergency summons for Lord Arnold to return to the castle immediately. She offers him a horse as a token of gratitude, one capable of reaching the royal capital in a single day. Arnold takes the scroll, his expression serious as he recognizes the signature. He gazes toward a distant mountain peak and formally accepts the summons. Behind him, Marybell and the others watch with concern, murmuring his name. Arnold looks out over the capital, confident. He muses that with a horse and some strengthening magic, he can easily reach the designated castle before nightfall. His thoughts are shattered by a booming voice. An official, Metal, thrusts a hand towards him, roaring a sentence of expulsion. He declares that Arnold's status as one of the 7 masters and his knighthood are revoked, effective immediately, and that no objection will be accepted. He, now addressed as Prince Galario, calmly asks for the reason behind this sudden decree. Metal announces that the main reason is dereliction of duty, while a nearby aide begins reading from a scroll, stating that Galario has achieved no results compared to the other court magicians. Galario counters, explaining that his results differ from the other 7 masters because his primary task is defense, not invading other countries. Metal scoffs at the explanation, dismissing Galario's focus on creating magical tools as rubbish, the work of a third-rate magician, not someone of his esteemed rank. The truth dawns on him. He realizes the second prince is using his achievements in making magical tools, the very reason the king appointed him, as a pretext for this expulsion. Metal presses on, adding that he's heard Galario gives his subordinates rare weapons and magical tools, referring to them as nothing more than second-class citizens. Galario thinks to himself that his focus on defense has backfired, making him an enemy of the prince's faction. His eyes widen with indignation at the thought. How wasteful, he thinks, to use expendable pawns as expendable pawns. He rises to his feet, declaring with all due respect that his subordinates are not expendable pawns. They are comrades who fight alongside him. Metal smirks, asking if he is talking back and warning that any further disagreement will be considered treason, as his words are the king's words. The threat becomes absolute. Metal sentences him to death on the spot. He adds that it won't end there. Galario's entire battalion will be treated as rebels and executed without exception. His hand clenches into a tight fist. The word echoes in his mind, his expression hardening with controlled fury. My subordinates. His thoughts turn to the faces of his comrades, the members of the 35th Frontier Battalion. He remained kneeling as Metal loomed over him, offering a deal. The official asked what was wrong, stating he would forgive Arnold if he would just accept his own exile. He replied calmly that he had no objection to his exile or the revocation of his knighthood. Metal laughed, pleased, and reassured him that his successor was quite competent. However, he added with contempt, the new commander would be sure to use the subordinates Arnold left behind properly, like the second-class citizens they were. As he spoke, he crushed a small object in his gauntlet fist. The insult ignited a terrifying response. A wave of raw power erupted from Arnold, sending a shockwave through the room that made Metal and his aide cry out in alarm. Looking up with cold fury, Arnold declared that he would show no mercy to anyone who insulted his subordinates, warning the official to remember that. Metal, now sweating and visibly terrified, cursed him. He quickly backpedaled, stating he would turn a blind eye to the rudeness, and furiously ordered Arnold to leave the country before he changed his mind. As they retreated through a doorway, Metal's aide stammered, "Why, your highness?" Metal dismissed the concern, stating he would let Arnold gather the rubbish from his barracks. On the floor, a final wisp of energy escaped Arnold's lips. He looked down at his hand, where faint sparks still crackled around his fingertips. He quietly acknowledged to himself that he might have gotten a little overboard. Now, walking away, he reflected on his choice. If he hadn't held back, Galario's head would have been cut off. From the looks of it, his display had worked. They wouldn't punish the other battalion members. He was to be exiled, but he never would have left his trusted subordinates behind anyway. His thoughts turned to the various magical tools he had crafted for them over the years. He was sure that with their own strength and his inventions, they would manage the coming battles. Despite this confidence, as he walked the long, empty stone path alone, a profound realization struck him. He hadn't felt this lonely since he was orphaned. He sighs, standing in the middle of his own disastrously messy room. He had never thought to clean it once, and now he truly didn't want to leave. Resigned, he decides to simply put everything inside his magical storage bag. As he stuffs the last of his belongings inside, he reflects on its creation, a combination of spatial magic, weight reduction, and decay-delaying enchantments. With the bag now holding the entire room's contents, he smirks with satisfaction. It is one of his masterpieces. There is nothing he cannot carry. He then turns and walks down a stone corridor, his burden feeling weightless. His thoughts drift to politics as he walks. He has heard there will be a new group of 7 masters, a move recommended by the Second Prince's faction. He passes 2 guards gossiping about Prince Galario's eagerness to inherit the throne, noting his efforts to draw supporters from other royal families. The mention of royalty makes Arnold wonder about the well-being of the second princess, Princess Pruella, whom he remembers as being friendly and talkative. Looking out a grand window, he feels a pang of regret. Now that he has lost his title, he can no longer see her. He wishes he could have spoken to her just one last time. Meanwhile, in a military tent, a fist slams onto a table. A messenger has just delivered the news of Arnold's exile. Elle, a red-haired warrior, fumes that Valk's entire defense, and their very lives, are owed to the commander's one-of-a-kind magical tools. She declares her intent to resign and follow Arnold. The girl in gothic armor immediately counters, telling Envy, the hooded girl, that she won't be allowed to get ahead. They all feel the same way. Celia, watching them, notes that Elle has been agitated all morning. Elle questions if they should all follow him, but Celia warns that a mass departure could be mistaken for a rebellion. The animal-eared girl then cheerfully proposes a solution, a death match to decide who gets to go. With a tournament bracket already drawn, the others grimly agree to settle it with strength. The brawl begins instantly. As a massive explosion rocks the training grounds, Elle explains that as platoon captains, they can't interfere. Watching the chaos unfold, Celia is left alone to wonder how on earth she is supposed to report this. Under the light of 2 moons, just before dawn, Arnold is roused from his sleep. An older man, attending to the horses, informs him that all preparations for his departure are ready. He accepts a pouch from the man, dismissing any apologies for the trouble. As he looks over the simple horse-drawn wagon, Arnold briefly wonders what to do with his life now that he has lost everything, even considering opposing the kingdom. A moment later, however, a smile spreads across his face as a sense of excitement begins to build within him. His thoughts are interrupted by the sudden arrival of Envy and Marybell, both looking battered and exhausted. Arnold questions their presence, asking if they ran all the way for Valk's. Envy confirms it, quietly telling their companion, Elle, to keep the recent tournament a secret. The women stand at attention. Envy formally reports to Arnold that she and Marybell have submitted their resignations to the military. Elle adds that all members of the 35th Frontier Battalion are resolved to do the same and follow him, even if it means becoming enemies of the kingdom. Arnold is taken aback, acknowledging their conviction but expressing his doubts. He turns away from them, stating that he doubts he can provide anything for them, not even for a battalion commander, should they choose to follow him into exile. In response, Elle steps forward to counter his point. She reminds him that they were fighting a hopeless battle in Valk's, and that what he gave them was far more than just magical tools or armor. Her eyes shine with conviction as she clarifies. He gave them hope, the will to believe in someone again, and a true purpose in life. Her words strike a chord within Arnold. He reflects that since he has no place to return to, his only home is wherever he chooses to be. He looks at his own hands, realizing that he always limited himself to making magical tools. A new idea dawns on him. If he doesn't have something, he can simply create it himself. Inspired, he turns back to the 3 women, his expression now filled with resolve. He announces that he has decided what to do. He will make a place for everyone. Reaching out his hand, he declares his new ambition, to build a country with his own hands. He asks if they will trust him and come with him on this journey. Without a moment's hesitation, Elle, Envy, and Marybell grasp his hand together, their faces beaming with loyalty as they gladly accept his proposal. He responds to the question of how to build a country with a confident thumbs up, announcing that he has an idea and that they should get going. Their first destination is the town of Gardner, located within the Kingdom of Limble, a nation neighboring the Kingdom of Design. Meanwhile, in the Gardner Adventurers Guild, the Guildmaster frets over a report. He complains that local bandits are running rampant because they know the Limble royal family lacks the power to stop them. Even increasing the bounty has failed to solve the problem, and the continued damage is becoming a blow to the Guild's reputation. He fears that if the bandits succeed in cutting off traffic along the roads, the Guild's relationship with the Kingdom of Design will deteriorate significantly. As news of another merchant attack reaches him, the Guildmaster realizes that the Guild must take action before that happens. Just then, a Guild member rushes in, causing a commotion. He reports that someone has arrived who not only wants to work for the Guild, but has also captured the entire gang of wanted bandits. The Guildmaster shouts in disbelief, demanding to know what he just said, as the crowd murmurs about who could have accomplished such a feat. Standing at the guild's entrance is Arnold, flanked by his followers. At their feet lies the entire group of captured bandits, bound and defeated. He calmly addresses the stunned room, introducing his group as an adventurer clan. He formally names their new organization Frontier Coral and requests an audience with the Guildmaster. At the rear logistics base in the Kingdom of Design, a young man named Shu observes the troops. It has been 3 days since Arnold was replaced by the new 7 Masters, Vinland. While Arnold now leads his own unit on a monster sweep operation, a warrior named Lili notes that Vinland's forces are heading out yet again. Elsewhere, Princess Ellie stands guard duty, feeling bored and restless. She wonders where Arnold has gone, suspecting he simply wants to take all the credit for the ongoing operations for himself. While she contemplates this, she reviews a document nearby. He informs her that a letter from Envy mentioned that after joining Arnold, the group crossed the northern border. Ellie asks if he means the Kingdom of Limble, and Shu confirms he believes they have likely reached their first town by now. Hearing this, Celia voices her concern for them. When Shu asks why, she explains that the vast Hoytberg Great Forest extends from Valks across the border into Limble, and Arnold has only been dealing with the monsters that have overflowed from their side of the defenses. Her words paint a grim picture of the potential dangers. As if to confirm her fears, a scene from the battlefield shows Vinland's team suffering heavy casualties. Back at the base, Ellie hopes Arnold is safe, while Shu observes the mounting injuries and admits to having a bad feeling about the situation. Meanwhile, in the town of Gardner in the Kingdom of Limble, their concerns seem distant. Arnold's Crimson Flame squad has achieved a stunning victory, capturing notorious outlaws like Beck's Red Cap Bandits and Gilbert's Mountain Castle Annihilation Squad in a single sweep, much to the disbelief of the captured criminals. Having delivered the bandits, Arnold meets with the local guildmaster. He asks to be introduced to jobs at the Adventurers Guild, and the guildmaster enthusiastically agrees, promising the bounty money will be ready by the following day. The guildmaster elaborates on the local situation, explaining that while Limble has a non-aggression pact with Design, war isn't impossible. The royal family is eager to have strong individuals on their side, so having Arnold take on requests is a great encouragement. He suggests that good performance could lead to a specific, high-profile request, providing a good opportunity for Arnold's group to make a name for themselves. He then gestures to the quest board, stating that they are free to choose from the various posted requests, but are solely responsible for the results. As the party examines the board, Elle excitedly points out a mission to deal with a salamander, while Arnold's attention is caught by a more intriguing task, gathering information on a greater demon. Elle points to a word on a quest sheet, asking what mithril means. Arnold explains that ranks are used to indicate an adventurer's level and the difficulty of a request. He observes that all the quests they are considering are mithril rank, reasoning internally that it can't be helped, as both Envy and Marybell are skilled combatants. He examined the local guild's ranking system, noting its difference from the one in Design. Here in Limble, ranks were based on metals, ascending from iron, copper, and silver to gold, mithril, and finally, orichalcum. With this understanding, he explained to Ellie and Envy that their first job was crucial. Given their small number, he wanted to select a request that could be finished quickly and would pave the way for future work. His finger landed on a permanent request, Ogre's subjugation. The moment he pointed it out, Ellie and Envy recoiled with matching expressions of utter disgust. For them, who had fought ogres to the point of absolute boredom, the idea was anything but appealing. He began to explain his reasoning. While ogres possess low intelligence, their ability to wield large weapons makes them a legitimate threat. They are troublesome monsters, but because the reward for hunting them is so low, few adventurers accept the job, allowing their population to grow unchecked. Ellie started to question the logic, but Arnold held up the request sheet, preemptively declaring that for their party, there was no direct merit in it. He elaborated that for seasoned fighters like them, ogres were easy prey that any of their battalion members could handle. However, for ordinary adventurers, they were tough opponents requiring significant preparation with potions and equipment, all for a meager reward. This, he explained, was the key. Since their numbers recover quickly, the quest would always be available, providing a steady, reliable job for everyone. It would be a continuous source of income, especially once the rest of their battalion arrived. As Ellie listened, she began to grasp his strategy. He then revealed his grander vision. This task would not only help the guild, but also the travelers, caravans, and residents victimized by the ogres, potentially benefiting the entire kingdom. Such results would demonstrate their clan's value, serving as a stepping stone toward their ultimate goal, creating their own country. With a confident wink, he declared it was well worth accepting. His speech won them over. Ellie conceded that they had no choice, especially with the promise of earning enough for a hot shower and a soft bed. With renewed vigor, Arnold announced their departure for the first mission of their clan, Frontier Coral. Envy let out an enthusiastic cheer. While observing the distant battlefield where Arnold and Ellie were seated, Envy and Elle have a brief conversation. Envy remarks that Arnold's naming sense is likely Iron Rank, to which Elle confesses she has no idea what Frontier Coral means. She smiles, reflecting that it's quite humane for the otherwise perfect Arnold to have such a flaw, as it gives her a goal she might one day be able to reach. Elle's thoughts drift to her homeland, Provincia, now a province of Daint. It was a country where the spear of dueling before the gods had been passed down for generations. In her land, all people, men and women alike, were raised as warriors in every family. A memory surfaces of a younger version of herself and her husband sparring fiercely, with her vowing not to hold back. The memory continues with a challenge echoing through her village. A voice declared that as a warrior, they would not take back what was said and demanded their opponent come out to settle things with a duel. Following the duel, her husband lay in bed, heavily bandaged, as a young Elle watched over him. She recalls how Daint declared them barbarians, but for her people, it was not unusual for couples to get seriously injured in a fight. Clenching her fist in the present, she reaffirms her understanding of this custom. If you cannot fight, you cannot sacrifice your life for what is important to you. This warrior's creed led her to the Battle of Valks, determined to throw herself into the fray even at the cost of her life. It was there she met Arnold, who had arrived as a battalion commander. He praised her splendid fighting and, recognizing her as a fellow warrior, asked for her name. She replied that she was Commander Envy and that he need not worry. He had looked upon the battlefield and acknowledged her resolve, but told her plainly that he did not want to lose any of his subordinates. He urged her, as Envy, not to fight so recklessly. Her response had been sharp. She told him he was being naive, reminding him that she'd heard he was one of the 7 masters. In Valks, she insisted, one cannot fight without being prepared to die. She had explained that on this battlefield, warriors risk their pride and their lives to pave the way for their subordinates, and that she was one of them. Arnold had listened, simply stating that he understood. His understanding, however, led to a different conclusion. Back in the present, Arnold declares that if that is her belief, then she is no longer Envy the warrior. Placing a glowing hand on her chest, he commands her to live and fight as a member of the 35th Frontier Battalion. He admits he would be sad if a precious subordinate died, but happy to see them live to return. Nearby, a wounded orc groans in confusion, unable to comprehend a life not meant to end on the battlefield. She looks at him, then turns to face a massive orc. She concedes that he is right. Pretty words alone will never be enough to protect anyone. Steeling herself for the fight, she stands her ground and adds, however, she unleashes a torrent of power, a glowing sigil materializing before her outstretched hand as she declares her new purpose. As long as she can reach it, she will protect everything she has decided upon, including her precious new friends. The blast engulfs the monstrous orc before her. Her attack subsides, and she rushes to the commander's side. He is kneeling, catching his breath, but looks up at her with a gentle smile. He observes that getting hurt isn't a pleasant experience, then formally introduces himself as Arnold, stating that he is counting on her from now on. Moved by his words, she takes a protective stance in front of him, facing the recovering orc. She vows that from this day forward, she will protect Arnold and everyone else. With a determined cry, she unleashes her technique, the Dragon Fong severing sword. Her blade flashes, cleanly decapitating the beast. Arnold remarks that such skill is to be expected of Envy. The warrior turns to him with a confident wink, explaining that she wants to prove her usefulness so he can trust her in any battle. She reaffirms her promise to protect him. As the immediate threat is neutralized, the real Envy suddenly calls out a warning to be careful, sensing an approaching danger. Moments later, a group of terrified soldiers burst from the trees, crying for help. They report an abnormal number of monsters, far stronger than Silver Rank, and that the entire quest is a death trap. Arnold turns towards them, his expression serious as he asks what is wrong. An explosion erupts nearby, catching Arnold by surprise. From the smoke and debris, a hulking, crimson-skinned beast with sharp tusks emerges, brandishing a massive cleaver. He instantly recognizes the creature, a red ogre. He sees that the red ogre is leading a horde of other ogres, a higher-level threat that should only be found in Valks. Pushing aside the question of why it's here in Limble, he decides to act before more damage is done to the garden area. He declares that he will take on the red ogre himself, and instructs Marybell to handle the rest of the horde. Envy immediately objects, complaining that it's unfair and that she wants to fight the strong ones too. She leans in close to Arnold, winking playfully as she touches his cheek. It's first come, first served, she reminds him with a confident smile. With their roles decided, both Envy and Marybell shout their understanding in unison. They leap forward into the fray as Arnold calls out from behind, telling them that he's counting on them. The two warriors dive into the horde of ogres, their blades flashing. As they fight, some nearby soldiers express their disbelief, one questioning Arnold's sanity for leaving a woman to face such a monster. Another soldier simply urges his comrades to flee while they can. In the midst of the chaotic battle, Envy makes a declaration, vowing that she will fight alongside him. She explains that it's because she, Envy, is in love with Arnold. Fueled by her confession, she swings her massive curved blade, slicing cleanly through an ogre before her. Her emotional outburst leaves her vulnerable. An ogre behind her raises its club for a fatal blow. Arnold screams her name in warning, and in the same instant, a metallic disc flashes through the air, intercepting the club just before it strikes. Envy turns, her eyes wide with shock. The force of the blocked attack sends her reeling backwards, but Arnold is already there, catching her securely in his arms. He confirms that everyone is unharmed, held against him. A blushing Envy can only manage a quiet affirmation as Marybell looks on. Flustered, Envy pushes herself away from Arnold, insisting that nothing happened. As Arnold questions their odd behavior, Marybell approaches, calmly announcing that she is done on her end. As Arnold's party travels onward, Envy playfully pesters Elle, demanding to know what she and Arnold were talking about. Elle insists it's a secret, prompting Envy to press her further. Arnold, walking ahead of them, remains silent and lost in thought. Elle sighs, lamenting that she still has a long way to go. Catching this, Arnold turns back to explain that their current path through the Teutberg Great Force connects directly to Valks. He muses aloud, questioning whether the appearance of a high-level monster in the peaceful Limbo region was truly just an accident. He turns away again, his cloak whipping in the wind as he stares toward the horizon. A quiet hope forms in his mind that the incident was nothing more than it seemed. Far away, within the royal castle in the king's domain of Valks, Second Prince Galario smirks with satisfaction. He takes a slow sip from his cup, chuckling to himself that events are unfolding favorably for design. As he sits, Commander Metal arrives. The prince greets him, remarking that it was worth the trouble to outmaneuver the faction supporting the second princess. He confidently states that all that remains is to await the battle results, just as Vinland recommended. Just then, Metal's aide bursts into the room. The prince, anticipating good news, eagerly asks Metal if his forces successfully wiped out the monsters in Valks. The aide, breathless and panicked, delivers a devastating report. Vinlandano has been seriously injured and forced to retreat from the front lines. Metal reacts with shock. The prince presses for information about his direct-controlled unit, only for the aide to confirm their utter annihilation. The prince's smug confidence shatters, his face twisting into a mask of pure horror. Within the royal castle of the Designed Kingdom, a soldier delivers a grim report to King Farhad III. The operation to eliminate the threat in Valks has failed, thwarted by an overwhelming army of monsters. One of the esteemed seven masters, Vinland, has fallen back with serious injuries, and the remaining forces are on the verge of collapse. The soldier urgently requests reinforcements, leaving the king to process the shocking news. This news sends King Farhad III into a rage directed at his son, Galario. The king expresses his profound disappointment, declaring that Galario has committed a massive blunder in his absence. As Galario stammers an appeal to his father, the king silences him with a roar, adding that he has plenty of other candidates for the seven masters. He continues his verbal assault, bringing up the very person Galario drove away, Arnold. The king points out that the reports clearly show how Arnold, a true hero, managed to hold back such a grave danger with only a single battalion. His fury only grows as he questions if Galario ever considered the magnitude of the loss and the threat to Design's future by allowing Arnold to leave for another country. Declaring that a foolish son has no right to be involved in his monarchy, the king banishes Galario from the royal castle immediately, leaving the prince to recoil in terror. With his disgraced son gone, the king sits on his throne, pondering how to organize reinforcements and whether to deploy the royal capital guards. At that moment, First Prince Balder steps forward, addressing his father. He advises against using the guards, calling them the kingdom's trump card, and suggests instead sending soldiers from the surrounding provinces. An aide beside the prince agrees with the king's assessment that Balder is correct, noting the disparity in military strength among the controlled provinces. Balder himself appears troubled by this fact. The prince then lays out the grim details of his strategy. He proposes gathering second-class citizens from the provinces and forcing them to fight. This would not only provide soldiers, but also deplete the province's strength, preventing any potential rebellion. He concedes it would cause resentment, but argues it is far better than allowing monsters to ravage the entire country. His father, King Farhad, listens intently before giving his assent. He declares the plan accepted and issues his orders. They must quickly gather soldiers to halt the monsters, buy time, organize reinforcements, and formulate a new plan to rebuild Valks' defensive line. Meanwhile, far from the political machinations of the Designed Kingdom, in the Adventurers Guild in Gardner, Arnold sits at a table, carefully maintaining his magical tools. Marybell approaches him, curiously asking what he is doing. He holds up a small, round magical tool, explaining that after their recent difficult encounters, from bandit gangs to the Red Ogre, he wants to ensure his equipment is ready to be used no matter what happens next. He presents a new prototype magical tool, a delicate circlet, asking his companions to try it on. As Envy and Marybell examine the unfamiliar device, he explains that they both need to wear it. Marybell, intrigued, asks about its function. The conversation continues around a small table. Marybell states with conviction that Arnold's magical tools are indispensable to them. Envy quickly agrees, adding that his inventions have saved her life on many occasions. Another warrior overhears this exchange and questions Marybell, reminding her that she once professed a hatred for magical tools. Looking away, Marybell quietly admits that things are different now. Her words trigger a memory of her past. The horse-riding people of Harkik, from her hometown of Yashida, were once considered invincible. Their chieftain, leading a charge, declared that their vitality-infused arrows would pierce any armor, urging Marybell and the others to follow him into the enemy's heartland. That confidence was misplaced. Their volley of arrows shattered harmlessly against a magical barrier. As Marybell stared in disbelief, the enemy unleashed a magic cannon, engulfing her comrades in a devastating blast. The invincible warriors, who had mastered vitality through rigorous training, were no match for the soldiers of the Design Kingdom and their magical tools. Returning to the present, Marybell finishes her story. She explains that she could not admit that magical tools were anything but an abomination of borrowed power. To find true strength after her people were subjugated, she requested assignment to Valks, the most dangerous battlefield in the kingdom. After listening, Arnold wipes sweat from his brow and gestures to a large crate filled with vials. He announces that he has made recovery potions for the battalion members, which should suffice for now. He tells Marybell she is welcome to take some as well. Her expression hardens with contempt. She declares that she despises such things, stating that anyone who relies on magical tools is a weak person without ambition. He doesn't argue. Instead, Arnold simply holds up one of the potions, a gentle smile on his face as he explains that he gives his absolute best every single time he creates a magical tool. He held out a potion, explaining that magical tools are not just for killing people or winning battles. Marybell's expression remained severe. She acknowledged that with powerful tools, even new recruits could defeat strong monsters, but she condemned those who depend on them, calling their creations cowardly and despicable. He continued, his voice filled with conviction, outlining a different purpose for his craft. He explained that magical tools could be used to ward off dangerous monsters or to detect enemies and avoid them entirely. For him, a true victory would be creating a tool that helps and guides his battalion members, allowing them all to laugh together in the end. He then turned to Marybell, offering her the small vial. He stated firmly that he would not stop making magical tools. It was fine if she didn't like them, he told her, but he would be happy if, one day, they could be of use to her. Envy rushes towards Arnold, announcing an emergency. Nearby, Marybell cradles a grievously wounded Layla, explaining that she was injured defending someone from a monster. Arnold kneels to examine the deep wounds, quickly realizing that conventional potions and healing magic will be useless. He produces a glowing feather, a phoenix tail feather. As a brilliant light erupts from the artifact, Layla's fatal wounds begin to heal instantly. Envy asks what the item is, and Arnold explains it's a magical tool from the legendary Phoenix, capable of healing any mortal wound, albeit only once. He reaffirms his belief that such tools are meant to be used when needed. The healing complete, Layla awakens, confused about her whereabouts. Envy, overjoyed, rushes to embrace her, exclaiming her relief. Layla, still sore, complains that the hug is painful. Sometime later, Envy approaches Arnold and asks if she can keep a potion. He agrees with a warm smile. The gesture solidifies her admiration. She reflects internally that Arnold, who guides his companions with pride, strength, and his vast collection of magical tools, has become the person she respects the most. Inside the Adventurers Guild, the Guildmaster confirms Arnold's reward for a bandit subjugation is ready. He also congratulates him on defeating the Red Ogre, calling it a great first job. As Arnold goes with the Guildmaster, Envy remarks to the others that this is why she trusts his magical tools. Arnold tells the women to wait for him. As they wait, a nearby group of adventurers scoffs at the news. One man with a headband loudly dismisses the story as a lie, claiming it's impossible for a gentle-looking man and two women to defeat a Red Ogre. He slams his cup down, accusing them of using cheap magical tools to achieve the feat. The force of his outburst causes a small, circular metal case to fall from his pouch, landing on the floor near Envy's feet. The man, guys, looks down at it, momentarily confused. Her expression hardens into fury. She points directly at the man and demands an apology, declaring she won't forgive him for mocking Arnold's magical tools. Her demand is met with ridicule as the other adventurers laugh, calling her a child for getting upset over a simple tool. Arnold steps in, placing a hand on Envy's shoulder to stop her. He calmly addresses the crowd, stating that their ignorance of the value of magical tools is precisely why they remain low-ranking adventurers. Enraged by the comment, the man with the headband challenges Arnold to a fight outside. As the tension mounts, Marybell asks Envy why she is holding back. With a chillingly calm expression, Envy replies that if she were to become enraged and fight them, they would all die for sure. She calmly holds up a small vial, telling the aggressive adventurers that they should be the ones apologizing. The leader scoffs, assuming it's a simple recovery potion and mocking her for using the same tricks as Arnold. His companions loom behind him, one vowing not to forgive her party even if they beg. In a surprising move, she tosses the vial high into the air, declaring she won't need to use it on them. She confidently states that the fight will be over before the vial falls back into her hands. Enraged by her audacity, the leader shouts, calling her a cheeky brat. Before the enraged adventurer can react, she moves with impossible speed. Grabbing Layla's fluffy tail, she swings it like a whip, striking the man squarely across the face with a resounding crack. The unexpected blow sends the leader stumbling backward, completely stunned. His two companions, a heavily armored woman and a hulking man with an eye patch, are frozen in shock at the sudden and bizarre attack. As the armored woman collapses to the ground from the collateral force, the eye patch-wearing man can only stare in disbelief. Envy lands lightly, her expression unchanged. Her remaining companion roars in fury and lunges forward, throwing a powerful punch aimed directly at her. His charge is futile. With nimble grace, she stomps on the downed woman's helmet, using it as a springboard to vault high into the air. The man's punch hits nothing but dust as he looks around, bewildered, trying to find where she has gone. From her aerial position, she descends upon the day's leader, delivering a swift kick to the back of his head, knocking him out completely. She lands lightly and delivers a precise chop to the back of the armored woman's neck, incapacitating her as well. At that exact moment, the vial she had thrown into the air falls perfectly back into her waiting hand. She glances at Marybell, telling her she made the right decision. With all three opponents neutralized and lying unconscious on the ground, Envy stands calmly in the center of the street. She pockets the vial as the surrounding crowd stares on in stunned silence. Clutching a heavy pouch, Arnold feels a sense of relief. The reward was more than he expected, enough to secure lodging and funds to find a proper base for a while. He turns to his companions, apologizing for having kept them waiting. His apology trails off as he takes in the scene before him. A burly adventurer is on his knees while Envy stands over him, demanding an apology. Arnold watches, puzzled by the confrontation. She points a finger at the man, her voice sharp. She insists he apologize not only for mocking her friends, but also for disparaging Arnold's magical tools. Marybell and Layla watch the tense exchange from nearby. The standoff is shattered when Layla's eyes widen in alarm. She cries out a warning to Marybell as another adventurer, clad in full plate armor, charges toward them from behind. Her shout is immediately followed by a different, clearer voice. Envy warns Marybell of a knife attack from her 7 o'clock position, just as the armored assailant brings their weapon down. The threat is neutralized in an instant, the armored attacker now lying defeated on the ground. Marybell, unharmed but confused, asks Envy what that voice was. Envy looks down at a small device in her hand, explaining that it came from the magical tool. He steps forward with a confident wink, glad that his prototype works properly. Arnold explains that by wearing a paired magical tool, one can transmit their voice to another person far away. He proudly announces its name, Talk and Listen Number 1. Upon hearing this, Envy bursts into delighted laughter, clutching a small vial. Her eyes sparkle with admiration as she tells Arnold he is truly an amazing person. Her praise is cut short as the defeated adventurer gets back on his feet. Seething, he glares at Arnold and snarls, questioning if he really thinks he can get away with this. He remains completely unfazed by the threat. Arnold calmly thanks the man for keeping his friends company, then makes a surprising demand. He wants the adventurer's most effective recovery potion. He pauses, as if about to add another condition. He calmly presents his second condition, offering the adventurer a special potion. With a cheerful smile, Arnold explains that the concoction, made from boiled hydra's bile and a ghoul's heart, would restore the man to perfect health in just 3 days. However, he adds, its overwhelming stench would also knock him unconscious for the very same duration. The adventurer recoils, gagging at the mere thought. Watching from a distance, Marybell notices Envy clutching a small item. She teases her, asking if she still treasures it and remarking on how much she's changed. Flustered, Envy tells her to be quiet, insisting that magical tools made by Arnold are simply different from others. She closes her eyes, unable to find the right words, but acknowledging internally that the items he makes are, indeed, special to her. Marybell continues her teasing, urging Envy to just admit she likes him. Feigning confusion, Envy questions what she could possibly mean, claiming not to understand at all. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of armored figures. Marybell turns, wondering about the commotion, as one of the knights authoritatively orders the gathering crowd of bystanders to disperse. The adventurer and his cronies immediately recognize the newcomers as Limble's security forces. Cursing their luck, the leader orders a retreat. Arnold watches their panicked flight, dryly noting that it's an obvious reaction for petty criminals. But as the man turns to flee, his escape is cut short. The lead knight moves with incredible speed, tripping him and sending him crashing hard onto the stone street. In an instant, the confrontation is over. The adventurer lies sprawled in the dust, completely subdued, while the knight stands over him, a silent and imposing figure of authority. The crowd murmurs in awe, speculating that she must be a holy knight. The knight ignores them, turning her attention and the point of her sword toward Arnold and his companions, identifying them as the center of the disturbance and warning that escape is impossible. She raises her visor, revealing a determined face. She declares that she will not tolerate anyone disrupting the order of the Kingdom of Limble, announcing herself by her full name and title, Sakura von Ars Nova II Signaler, a knight in ornate armor. Identifying herself as Sakura von Ars Nova II Signaler, confronts Arnold and his companions. She declares that she will not allow anyone who disturbs the order of the Limble Kingdom to go unpunished, warning them that resistance will result in their immediate condemnation by her sword. Arnold, looking concerned, realizes he is in an emergency and cannot afford to be held up. The scene shifts to 3 days prior in the town of Garter's Market Square. A young woman with long dark hair, Ukah, shows Sakura a ribbon at a stall, remarking on how cute it is. Sakura agrees, telling Ukah it would look good on her and offers to buy it as a present. Ukah seems surprised by the offer, questioning if Sakura is in a position to be spending money so freely. After accepting the gift, Ukah promises to be back soon and asks Sakura to wait. As she departs, Sakura's internal thoughts reveal the grim reality from the present. Ukah went missing after that moment, and Sakura has been searching for her ever since, to no avail. Her reverie is broken as she is brought back to the present. The Guildmaster of Gardner approaches, calling out to her and expressing his surprise at her presence. He greets her warmly, mentioning that he's heard of her accomplishments and explains they are apprehending troublemakers in town. Sakura confirms she is there on business and indicates Arnold's group, stating that they are the ones who remain. The Guildmaster lets out a booming laugh at her statement. Sakura looks back at him, silently questioning his amusement. He clarifies that Arnold's party is nothing like the thuggish adventurers they've already apprehended. The Guildmaster then asks if she has heard about the recent rounding up of bandit gangs along the border roads. Sakura confirms she has received the reports, acknowledging it as a significant achievement for a group of new adventurers. The Guildmaster continues, specifying that the report is about Arnold's clan, Frontier Coral. He reveals they have just confirmed the party's subjugation of a dangerous red ogre, and theorizes that such a success must have angered rivals. He expresses his dismay and promises to cooperate fully to clear any suspicion against them. Having understood the situation, Arnold steps forward and formally apologizes to Sakura for raising false suspicions. In response, Sakura bows her head slightly, admitting that she and her side also went too far. He and his companions brought the tense confrontation to a close. Marybell and Envy offered their apologies, while he affirmed that whatever the reason, fighting is not the answer, expressing hope that the other party would reflect on their actions in the future. With the misunderstanding cleared, he turned his attention fully to the knight, asking if she would mind answering one thing. The knight, Sakura, agreed. She was visibly startled by his inquiry. He had questioned why a holy knight of her stature would be leading the Limble Knights in Gardner, so far from the royal capital, and surmised that something serious must have occurred. Her expression grew serious as she confirmed his suspicion. The situation was grave, she admitted, and the surrounding area was slightly disturbed. She conceded that he had seen through her composed facade. She confessed that she had done everything in her power to find someone named Ukah, but now felt she had no other options left. He remarked that her calm and collected manner was truly impressive. Sakura then asked why he would want to help, admitting that she had initially suspected him. He simply stated that he felt they couldn't just leave people in trouble alone. He formally offered his assistance, acknowledging that while he might have read too much into it, his party could still help. Sakura warned him that this matter was not hers alone and that failure would not be tolerated. In the worst-case scenario, she cautioned, it could even put his position and life at risk. Undeterred, he smiled warmly, promising to do everything he could. He then introduced himself as Arnold and his companions as Marybell and Envy, inviting her to use his first name. A new alliance was forged. Before the grand entrance of a large estate, the identity of the missing person is established. She is Ukah, the half-sister of the knight Sakura, and the next in line to lead the Ars Nova family, one of the most prestigious houses in the Kingdom of Limble. Inside, Sakura explains the situation to Arnold and his companions, who are gathered around a large map of the town. She recounts that Ukah vanished without a trace from right beside her. The knights have already formed a search party, but they have yet to find her or even determine where she went. He listens intently, deducing from the situation that this couldn't be the work of mere bandits, as they planned too carefully to leave no traces. Arnold concludes that if it was a crime that even a holy knight failed to notice, it must have been an act directed solely at Ukah. The suggestion leaves Sakura speechless. Meanwhile, in a dark, cavernous location, Ukah sits calmly. She is certain she is still alive. Her captor's purpose is unknown, but she believes they won't harm her if it's not necessary. Back with the group, Arnold proposes a change in strategy. Instead of searching, they should be chasing. Sakura points to the map, explaining that they have already searched every nook and cranny of the town of Gardner. A new search would have to extend outside the town, a task that could take the official search team days. He then asks Sakura if she has any of Ukah's belongings. She considers his request, admitting that she has something, though it doesn't necessarily belong to her sister. She presents a large ribbon, explaining that Ukah had been holding it just moments before her disappearance. Because of this, it still holds traces of her mana. As Sakura wonders what use the ribbon could be, Arnold swiftly takes it, preparing to use a magical tool. With a soft pop, the device activates. It is a mana tracker magical tool, a stuffed dog named Sniffer-kun. The tool's appearance elicits immediate reactions. Sakura is stunned, while Marybell exclaims how cute it is, asking Arnold when he acquired such a thing. Sakura marvels that she has seen many precious magical tools, but never one like this. As the dog's tail begins to wag, Arnold explains that Elle had asked him to make it to catch squadron members who were late for dinner. However, he had to store it away because it ended up causing more problems than it solved. He modestly dismisses his own abilities, claiming he isn't particularly good at combat or magic. Sakura, the knight, expresses her surprise, having heard he was also proficient in creating magical tools. Envy interjects that he calls himself the strongest, prompting Marybell to wonder if there's a difference in perception. Turning his attention to the task at hand, Arnold kneels before the dog-shaped tool. He presents it with a ribbon, giving it a mission to register the mana of the owner's scent left upon it. The tool obediently begins to sniff the object. The tool's eyes flash as it processes the information, its body twitching slightly. A small light on its side confirms that the registration is complete. With the mana signature now stored, Arnold gives his creation its next command, to track the owner. The dog-like tool lowers its head to the ground and begins sniffing earnestly. Almost immediately, The tool's tail begins to wag frantically as it announces it has found its target. However, it is pointing directly at Sakura, who asks what's happening. Arnold examines the ribbon and realizes the problem. It also carries Sakura's mana, preventing it from detecting Ukah's. To correct for the interference, he asks Sakura where Ukah was last seen, explaining they need to start the trace from there. She confirms it was the street market square and offers to lead the way. Now in the bustling square, Sakura voices her concern, questioning if the tool can truly identify Ukah's mana amidst so many people. Arnold reassures her, explaining that mana is unique to each person, like a fingerprint, and the tool can track it as long as the traces haven't completely faded. With the rest of the party gathered, he concludes that for now, their only option is to trust his creation. The magical dog continues its search, sniffing along the cobblestones. Its nose hovers just above the ground, inhaling the faint, glittering remnants of a mana trail left behind. Suddenly, a sharp ping sounds from the tool's head. It launches forward with explosive force, crashing through market stalls and sending produce flying. The sudden, chaotic rampage leaves Arnold's party and the surrounding shoppers completely stunned. In the chaotic aftermath, with Sakura knocked to the ground, Envy watched the magical tool vanish into the distance. She exclaimed that it had suddenly taken off at full speed. From her position on the cobblestones, Sakura wondered aloud if it had finally found the traces they were looking for. He confirmed her suspicion, pointing ahead with determination. With no time to secure a carriage, Arnold declared that they would have to follow it on foot, and immediately broke into a run, his companions close behind. As their pursuit led them into a forest near the border of the Kingdom of Limbo, Arnold glanced over at his armored companion, asking if she was all right. Sakura, panting heavily, insisted she was fine. Internally, however, she was stunned. Even with a physical boost enhancing her abilities, she could barely keep up with his pace. After running for 3 hours straight from Gardner, the party shows no signs of fatigue, a testament to the skill the Guildmaster saw in them. Arnold suddenly halts, raising a hand. He announces that he's found the kidnapper's hideout, a cave concealed within the rocks. Sakura moves to his side, observing the entrance. She notes its strangely blurry appearance and asks him why it looks that way. He explains that it's hidden by a camouflage and barrier spell, making it appear as a simple cliff face to the average person. Sakura peers closer, assessing the situation. She determines it's too dangerous to enter, having spotted 2 well-equipped guards. These are no ordinary bandits. She voices her concern, stating that while she wants to confirm Ukah's safety, they should retreat. It would all be for naught if they were defeated here. Sakura insists that his plan is reckless, no matter how skilled he is. She proposes they return for support and prepare to break the barrier, a process that would take until dawn. Arnold, however, dismisses this. He declares his intention to go in alone and get it done, instructing Envy and Marybell to guard Sakura. As Sakura begins to protest again, Marybell gently places a finger to her lips, silencing her. She tells Sakura to just watch and she will understand. At that moment, a rustle in the nearby bushes catches the attention of one of the guards, who calls out into the darkness. His partner dismisses the noise when a small, toy-like dog wanders out, sniffing the air. He tries to shoo it away, but the first guard is suddenly alarmed. He shouts for his partner to wait, questioning how a simple dog could have passed through their camouflage and barrier. Before they can process the impossibility, the toy dog detonates in a violent explosion. From a safe distance, Arnold stands with his hand outstretched, his expression calm and focused, having triggered the blast that neutralized both guards. The explosion shatters the barrier. Inside, a surviving guard frantically reports the intrusion to his boss. Arnold steps through the breach, sword drawn. The guard, though injured, glares at him, vowing he won't leave alive. Arnold calmly replies that it doesn't matter how he was found. In an instant, all the guards are defeated. From the entrance, Sakura stares in disbelief, admitting that no one in her order could have taken them out so quickly. She turns to her companions and demands to know who Arnold really is. Marybell closes her eyes with a serene smile, replying simply, "He is the person we trust the most." Inside the breached hideout, the truth of the young man's identity begins to surface. He is revealed to be the former commander of the 35th Frontier Battalion in the Kingdom of Designed, and more astonishingly, one of the legendary 7 Masters, whose existence is known throughout the land. This revelation is punctuated by the agonized scream of a guard, caught in an unseen, crushing grip. The man's terror is absolute as he recognizes his assailant, Arnold the Sloth himself. The confirmation sends a shockwave of understanding through Sakura. She processes the staggering truth. The 7 Masters of Design are said to possess the power to single-handedly destroy an entire country. The man she's been dealing with, Arnold, is one of them. The realization of his immense power leaves her stunned. A young woman in brilliant armor introduces herself as Sakura, a holy knight of the esteemed Limbo Knights. Her mission is personal. She is searching for her half-sister, Ukah, who mysteriously vanished in the town of Gardner. She recounts that despite an arduous search, progress was elusive. That changed when the adventurer clan, Frontier Coral, offered their assistance. With the help of Arnold's magical tools, they successfully tracked down the kidnapper's hideout and infiltrated it, leaving a trail of defeated guards behind them. She was further astonished to learn of Arnold's distinguished past as a former court mage of the Kingdom of Designed. He stands ready for battle, a unique, gun-like magical tool in his hand. But the most shocking revelation was his true identity. Arnold is, in fact, Sloth, one of the infamous Seven Masters. As this truth is revealed, Sakura's blade strikes true, sending a masked kidnapper reeling back with a cry of agony. The force of her attack leaves Sakura momentarily breathless, forced to a knee to recover. Arnold stands nearby, his expression unreadable as he assesses the situation. Her opponent, though wounded, glares at her with contempt. Undeterred, Sakura lunges forward once more, her sword clashing violently against his. An older man with glasses, the apparent leader, steps forward, admitting he messed up. Arnold confronts him directly, questioning if he is a mercenary and demanding to know who ordered the kidnapping. The man scoffs, refusing to answer and confidently stating that the battle is far from over. In response, the commander unleashes his power. A magic circle glows beneath him as he casts a series of enhancements: physical boost, defense boost, and speed boost. Arnold watches, intrigued, realizing his opponent can stack strengthening magic. He boasts that with triple strengthening, even holy knights are no match for him, threatening to tear his foes to shreds. Unfazed, Arnold acknowledges his skill, but begins his own incantation, preparing a physical boost of his own. The commander mocks the attempt, but his arrogance turns to shock. Arnold's magic is different, an energy-strengthening physical boost. Power crackles around Arnold's blade, far surpassing what the commander thought possible. He unleashes his power in a blinding flash of light, channeling his unique magic through his sword and crying out the name of his technique. Overture. The kidnapper commander reels back, his eyes wide with disbelief. He shouts that it should be impossible to use magic and energy strengthening at the same time. He demands to know how Arnold managed to make two opposing forces work in concert. Arnold calmly explains that it's easy. One just has to maintain the optimum level of both magic and energy, a feat as delicate as balancing the tip of one needle on top of another. He adds with a serene smile that, despite its simplicity in his eyes, he has never seen anyone other than himself capable of using the technique. The overwhelming force of the attack slams into the commander, who can only groan in agony and curse Arnold as a monster before being consumed by the blast. Further back, Sakura and her companions hear the distant scream. Recognizing that Arnold is distracting the enemies, she urges her team forward, determined to find Ukah while they have the chance. She leads the way, using a magical tracking tool that begins to react intensely near a solid wall. As the device scratches the stone, her companions realize there must be a hidden door. Sakura pushes it open, calling out Ukah's name. The door slides open to reveal Ukah, sitting alone inside a dark cell. She looks up, her expression a mixture of relief and confusion. She's glad Ukah is safe, but questions why she is behind her. Inside a cavern hideout, a bandit roars in frustration, his attack deflected by the shield of the knight Sakura. "Don't get in my way," he bellows, but she holds her ground, resolute. Her companions surge into action around her, a whirlwind of coordinated strikes against the other captors. One of them, a woman in a dark hood, kneels by a cell door, deftly working on the lock with a set of picks. As the lock clicks open, a gentle voice comes from within the cell. The captive, Ukah, apologizes, believing her mistake led to this trouble. Sakura quickly reassures her, stating she is unhurt and that it was nothing more than a scratch. Freed from her cell, Ukah smiles with relief, expressing how certain she was that Sakura would come for her. Truly glad that her rescuer is safe, she suggests they get out of there and meet up with Arnold-sama to ensure Ukah's own safety. With the rescue complete, the entire party proceeds through a quiet, sun-dappled forest path, leaving the bandits' hideout behind them. They soon find Arnold waiting for them. Sakura reports that they were able to get Ukah out safely. He nods, confirming that his part is also done. He has restrained the remaining bandits and put them to sleep with magic, assuring her that they are fine to call for reinforcements to handle the rest. His calm efficiency prompts a sudden change in Sakura. She bows deeply before him, asking for forgiveness for all of her rudeness. She confesses that she had no idea he was the famous Arnold von Eckenstein, one of the legendary Seven Masters. She thanks him from the bottom of her heart for his help, and Ukah adds her own gratitude. Arnold, however, seems genuinely puzzled by this revelation, touching his chin as he wonders aloud if he is really that famous. His other companions observe that he doesn't even realize it. Seeing his confusion, Ukah explains his reputation. He is known as a mysterious mage who defends the kingdom of Desient from the relentless onslaught of monsters. Unlike his fellow Seven Masters, he has always maintained a low profile, remaining shrouded in mystery. His title is Arnold the Sloth. He dismisses the praise, stating that he wasn't alone and had help from other battalion members. He then compliments Sakura, admitting her swordsmanship far surpasses his own. With a distant look, he adds a cryptic remark. "Well, I'm not that person anymore." The statement leaves both Sakura and Ukah completely bewildered. He calmly explained his new circumstances to the group. Now that he had been banished from the kingdom of Desient, he was no longer one of the Seven Masters. He was simply Arnold, an adventurer from the frontier Coral clan. His companions reacted with astonishment to the powerful magic he had just unleashed. Sakura recognized it as advanced healing and purification magic, marveling that he could use it almost instantaneously without chanting, a feat difficult even for a top-class mage. Ukah, meanwhile, was amazed that her clothes felt brand new and her hair was shinier than when freshly washed. Ukah reflected that she had never witnessed such an advanced purification spell before. She considered his swordsmanship, his magical tools, and his magic, concluding that even if she searched the entire kingdom of Limbo, she would never find another person like him. This thought solidified a realization for Sakura. It was unthinkable that a man of Arnold's caliber would be banished from design. Her gloved hand tightened slightly. She now understood that his words were the truth. Sometime later, at the Ars Nova estate, Sakura was summoned by her father, the Marquee. He had a request for her. He wanted her to serve as Ukah's guard for a while. She immediately asked if something had happened concerning Ukah. Her father stroked his goatee, clarifying that nothing had occurred. Not yet, anyway. He then explained the troubling political climate. There were daily reports of disturbing movements from local factions. Old, powerful clans dissatisfied with Limbo's current prosperity. These groups, he revealed, had aligned themselves with the First Princess's faction and were planning to collude with her to weaken the royalists led by the First Prince. The Marquis continued, stating that the Ars Nova family would also be involved in the scheming. What was even more worrying, he added, was that Design's interference had become increasingly unwarranted. He spoke of rumors about a suspicious armed group operating in Limbo, waiting for an opportunity to bring them down. Sakura questioned this, reminding him of the mutual non-aggression pact with Design. Her father scoffed at the notion, explaining that he'd heard Design was taking over local factions one by one, offering favors and large sums of money. He crushed a piece of paper in his fist, declaring passionately that such promises are nothing but ink on paper, worthless once crushed. He warned that major changes were taking place in Design, and their effects would soon reach Limbo, leaving Sakura to absorb the grave news. She stood resolute before her father, absorbing his grave warning. The Marquis, his face etched with concern, explained that the consequences of Design's actions were unknown, but when the time comes, he is counting on her. Sakura, her gaze unwavering, acknowledged her duty, stating she understood. Having concluded her meeting, she rejoined Arnold and Ukah, who were examining a peculiar object. Arnold presented a multi-purpose, flatboard-shaped magical tool, a floating board. Ukah likened it to a floating bed, while Arnold explained that it levitates with magical power and that he would tow it, asking for their patience. He then turned to Sakura, suggesting she didn't need to be so formal with him and his companions. He encouraged her to drop the honorifics and simply use their names. Sakura, looking slightly surprised, agreed to his request. Despite her agreement, she hesitated. Ukah interjected, insisting that as the esteemed benefactor of the Ars Nova family, they must extend their formal hospitality. Sakura then formally requested that Arnold Dano accompany them all the way to the capital city of Glastonbury. She continued, explaining the reason was to introduce their formal relationship to her father, the Marquis of Ars Nova. The word struck Arnold with the force of a physical blow, his mind reeling in shock. Father, Marquis, formal relationship, he thought, utterly bewildered. Beside him, Ukah giggled, remarking on her sister's boldness, while Sakura, oblivious, wondered if she had said something wrong. Within the Marquisate of Ars Nova, a territory on the eastern side of the kingdom of Limbo's capital, Arnold and Sakura are formally welcomed. The head of the Ars Nova family, the Marquis himself, extends a hand, expressing immense gratitude for the rescue of Ukah, a matter he learned of from his daughter, Sakura. Arnold modestly dismisses the praise, stating he has only fought monsters on the outskirts of Design. The Marquis insists there is no need for such humility, assuring him that his name is known throughout Limbo. He then leans in, questioning if Arnold has any doubts about his own reputation. To illustrate the region's importance, the Marquis describes the vast Teutberg Great Forest, a wilderness stretching from the border of Design to the eastern part of Limbo. He emphasizes that defending their lands from the monsters that emerge from this forest is of the utmost importance to the entire country. The Ars Nova territory serves as a strategic point, the shield of the East. However, the monsters grow more ferocious each year, and even the royal army has been unable to fully prevent their invasions. Yet, a single mage has managed to repel these threats with just one battalion. Arnold, known as the Sloth of the Seven Masters. The Marquis muses that anyone would be fascinated by such a feat. His expression turns grim as he adds that the damage caused by monsters is worsening. He himself recently witnessed a red ogre. Sakura gently interrupts her father, reminding him that he got sidetracked from the matter of the reward. The Marquis agrees and turns his full attention back to Arnold, promising to do his best to accommodate any requests he might have. Standing before one of the most powerful men in Eastern Limbo, Arnold understands the weight of this opportunity. He realizes he must consider his reward very carefully. He internally resolves that he doesn't need immediate profit, but something that will secure a better future. With this in mind, he addresses the Marquis, stating that since Limbo is struggling against the Eastern monsters, he knows exactly what reward he would like. The Marquis strokes his mustache, intrigued, and bids him to continue. Arnold declares that he needs 3 things. First, he wants the adventurer rank of his clan, the frontier coral, raised to gold, a necessity for officially engaging dangerous monsters. Second, he requests that his clan members be guaranteed the same rights as commoners, protecting his allies from unfair treatment. His third and final request is for permission to operate throughout the entire eastern region of Limble, which would allow his clan to maximize their activities. The Marquee acknowledges that Arnold is quite a thoughtful man and admits he has no reason to refuse. He pauses, however, adding a conditional however to his acceptance. He listened as the Marquee laid out the political realities of his request. To expand operations across the entire eastern region, the Marquee explained, would require the indispensable approval of the royal family and various other factions. Arnold acknowledged this, noting that the Marquee's own territory only constituted a small part of the east. Sakura, standing by, then questioned if this presented a problem. The Marquee confirmed that it was indeed a problem. He explained that, as he'd mentioned before, the capital situation was extremely unstable due to monster invasions, making political leaders hesitant to act for fear of worsening things. He conceded that while Arnold's abilities were evident, there were still stubborn people who would take time to persuade. Arnold smiled, understanding the situation perfectly. He declared that to convince them all at once, they would need overwhelming evidence. The Marquee, seated opposite him, leaned forward and asked precisely how he planned to achieve such a thing. Before he could answer, Sakura stepped forward, addressing her father directly. With a determined expression, she volunteered to accompany Arnold. He looked over, surprised by her sudden interjection. Her father considered the proposal. He acknowledged it as a reasonable suggestion, admitting that he also wished to avoid any actions that would jeopardize the Ars Nova family's position. He then turned his attention to Arnold, asking for his opinion on the matter. He agreed, understanding the strategic advantage. He explained that with Sakura joining him, they could link up with the rest of the battalion and begin acting in the east as soon as the next day. He reasoned that as holy knights of the kingdom, they possessed a degree of flexibility outside the territory, allowing them to move through the Ars Nova lands and avoid trouble with other factions. The rest, he concluded, was up to him. As they departed, the Marquee watched them, internally remarking on how his innocent daughter had grown, now bringing a former member of the Seven Masters with her. He wondered what arguments Arnold the Sloth would use, but his thoughts turned possessive, vowing he would never give his daughter away as a bride. At the same time, Arnold found Sakura's straightforwardness refreshing and decided to entrust matters related to frontier quarrel to her, determined to prove they could aid the kingdom on their own. Outside a stately building, Marybell strikes a confident pose in a form-fitting black evening gown, calling out to Arnold to look. She asks if the dress suits them, while beside her, Envy appears much less comfortable in her own frilly, light-colored dress, admitting she isn't used to such attire. He stares, flustered and surprised to see Envy and Marybell so transformed. Ukah appears beside them, explaining with a smile that she lent them some of her and Sakura's clothes, noting that they fit perfectly, just as she had imagined. Watching them, Ukah reflects that this is to be expected, as they have been living on the battlefield for so long. Envy, blushing, wonders aloud if this is how they will live once they build their own country, a thought that brings a smile to Marybell's face. Inside the residence, maids move with quiet efficiency, preparing for the evening's meal. The preparations culminate in a grand feast. Ukah presents the lavish spread, calling it a modest dinner and urging them to enjoy it without worry. Marybell and Envy's eyes widen in disbelief, their mouths watering at the sight of the roasted meat. Amused, Arnold simply tells them to keep their indulgence in moderation. As they begin to settle at the table, Arnold asks Ukah where Marquee Ars Nova is. She explains that the Marquee decided to refrain from joining them, as he didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable with his presence. Accepting her offer, the group begins to eat, thanking her for the feast. As she watches her guests enjoy the meal, Ukah feels a deep sense of gratitude, simply glad to be alive in this moment. After the meal, Envy and Marybell are so full they can't move, collapsing onto a sofa. Arnold steps out onto a balcony, thinking he should call the rest of the battalion members soon. His thoughts are cut short when a voice from the courtyard below calls out his name. He looks down to see a young man with light hair whom he has never seen before. The stranger greets him warmly, stating it's an honor to meet him and asking if he is a noble from Designed. From his vantage point, Arnold demands to know how the stranger found him. He then asks the stranger directly, apologizing for the lack of a proper introduction, but demanding to know who he is. He listens as the young noble introduces himself as an emissary from King Farhad III of the Kingdom of Designed. The noble conveys the king's deep sadness over Arnold's exile and reveals that, as a consequence, the second prince who made the error is now being exiled from the castle himself. Furthermore, he extends an offer. Arnold is to be welcomed back as one of the Seven Masters with special treatment. The emissary elaborates on the generous terms, promising a pay increase, the highest title to honor his achievements, and command of a new unit composed of direct Designed soldiers, not mere provincial troops. The mention of a new unit piques Arnold's curiosity. In response, the noble explains that Arnold's previous subordinates all abandoned their posts, leaving behind a mountain of resignation letters. He reassures him, however, that Designed's forces have since taken over and maintained the defenses. He continues his persuasion, remarking on how fortunate it is that Designed has managed to fend off monster invasions, unlike Limble, which he claims lacks talented people. He then presses Arnold, asking what he plans to do now that he will surely need more personnel. But Arnold's answer is a firm refusal. The emissary's smile fades instantly, replaced by a cold, menacing glare. He warns Lord Arnold that he will come to regret this choice. Unfazed, Arnold turns away, declaring that he will not. He states his resolve to build their country with his own hands, confident that he will find everything he needs right where he is. The emissary's expression hardens. He confirms to himself that Arnold is indeed the one he must bring back, and that using a little force is acceptable. As if on cue, a colossal knight in full, dark armor materializes behind him, its presence radiating immense pressure. The noble calmly accepts the situation, murmuring, "Very well." Near the border, within the Teutberg Great Forest, Arnold leads his new unit. One of his companions urges him to hurry before nightfall, but he remains composed. He addresses their questions about his plan to take on so many guild requests at once, explaining that someone has brought good news for their new establishment. He holds up a device bearing a large eye emblem, the polished surface reflecting his new subordinates. He reveals the core of their mission. The remaining members of the 35th Frontier Battalion have gone missing from the Kingdom of Design. His companions process the information. One asks if this means the missing soldiers are headed their way. Another reasons that soldiers from a neighboring country traveling the main highway would cause trouble. Sakura, clad in her knight's helm, adds a crucial detail. While she has no reports of a missing unit, the only notable town in the area is Gardner. Arnold confirms their suspicions, stating that the Teutberg Great Forest is the battalion's most probable route. This prompts one of the warriors to ask if there is a less conspicuous path they could take. Looking over a map, Sakura traces the path from Valk's frontier in Designed through the forest and toward Gardner. She concludes that traveling through the heart of the woods is a fitting tactic for those accustomed to such terrain, as it allows them to avoid unwanted attention. With their course set, Arnold turns to his unit with renewed vigor, holding up the mission requests. He explains that these monster extermination jobs will both fund their rendezvous and ensure the safety of their routes. With a shout of encouragement, he dashes ahead, leaving his companions to remark on their commander's unusual excitement. He runs on, and Sakura watches him go. A thought crosses her mind. She has never seen Arnold act this way before. She surmises that the women he leads must be his precious subordinates. Her brief moment of reflection leaves her standing alone by a tree as the others move ahead. They call back to her, urging her to hurry or risk being left behind. Startled, she quickly calls out that she is coming and rushes to rejoin the group. In an instant, their path is blocked. Hulking ogres burst from the foliage, ambushing the unit. Sakura is the first to react, her sword raised just in time to parry a crushing blow from a massive club. Around her, the rest of the unit springs into action, engaging the monstrous attackers. She noted with approval that Arnold seemed well adjusted to forest combat. As expected, another of his companions, Ellie, casually remarked that the ogres they were fighting were nothing more than a daily morning warm-up. But as the battle raged, a device in Arnold's hands began to beep insistently, and his expression hardened. He recognized this reaction. Suddenly, the ground shook as a monstrous creature, far larger than any ogre, crashed through the trees. One of the girls identified it in horror as a greater demon. Sakura confirmed she had received reports of its sightings in numerous locations, her mind racing to understand its sudden appearance here. She stared, confused, as the greater demon froze in place, seemingly unable to move its own body. Before an explanation could be found, several black-clad figures blurred past, their blades flashing as they systematically dismantled the paralyzed beast in a flurry of precise strikes. As the mysterious assassins landed, their attack continued without pause. One of them struck Ellie, who let out a sharp grunt of pain as she was instantly incapacitated. In moments, the entire unit was neutralized. The female warriors were all on the ground, unable to move. Envy, kneeling, spotted a discarded blade nearby and understood their plight. It was coated in a fast-acting paralysis poison. Arnold gazed upon his fallen comrades, Sakura, Envy, Marybell, his expression grim. He questioned aloud if they were truly the formidable former Seven Masters. As he stood there, the cold point of a blade pressed against his back, and a voice commanded him not to move. The leader of the assassins leaned in, his voice low and menacing. He told Arnold to come with them, remarking on how easy the ambush had been. He then delivered an ultimatum: resist, and his subordinates would die. On a snowy mountainside, the knight Sakura stands ready, lamenting that she let her guard down. She is stunned to see not only Envy and Marybell, but Arnold as well, approaching with a larger group. The confrontation begins. Arnold faces a masked figure, a small device beeping on the ground between them. He correctly identifies their gear, detection evasion equipment, and claw-shaped magical tools, and deduces their identity: the King of Design's secret mission unit, specializing in sabotage and assassinations. The masked leader confirms his assessment precisely. The leader reveals that His Majesty still considers Arnold useful and has ordered them to bring him back, regardless of his wishes. As Arnold realizes the noble he met was a spy, Sakura reacts with shock, questioning if Design plans to exploit Arnold. The masked leader dismisses her outrage, coldly stating that she is no different from them. In response to this accusation, Arnold turns his attention to Sakura, asserting that he came to this place of his own free will. Sakura listens, her expression tight with concern. He continues, offering an apology to her. He clarifies that despite the masked leader's words, he does not see her as one of them. His sentiment is cut short. The masked leader declares his feelings irrelevant and issues a command: drop his weapon and follow them. To enforce the command, the leader's subordinates menace Arnold's companions. The ultimatum is clear: surrender, or his friends will pay the price. Seeing no other choice, Arnold raises his hands and agrees to their terms. The leader then demands his storage bag, acknowledging it is filled with precious and strange magical tools. Arnold complies, tossing the bag to the waiting figure, who catches it with satisfaction. Now completely disarmed, Arnold is seized from behind. The masked leader holds a large, clawed weapon to his throat, mockingly offering the king's kindness now that he is unable to move. Forced to his knees with his hands bound, Arnold is fully captive. On the snowy ground nearby, the small, circular device he dropped earlier continues its insistent beeping. His companions could only watch in horror. Elle and Envy cried out his name, their faces etched with shock and disbelief as the masked assassins closed in. The leader of the assassins, ignoring their cries, declared their work finished and ordered the disposal of 2 of them. A subordinate questioned if he was sure, but Arnold remained silent, his gaze fixed on the beeping device he had dropped. He then looked up, a confident, almost mocking smile spreading across his face. He was just asking, he explained, before posing a question of his own. Did they truly believe his subordinates numbered only 2? The assassin leader recoiled in sudden confusion, his gaze darting towards the small, beeping device on the ground as if finally understanding its significance. His confusion was answered by a blur of motion. From the shadows, a heavy, chained mace swung through the air with immense force, crashing into one of the masked figures and sending them flying. The sudden intervention stunned everyone. Elle and Envy stared, wondering what was happening. Sakura, however, recognized the newcomer. She explained that the beeping device had been emitting a strong reaction for some time, not from a monster, but as a signal to avoid detection. She was glad to see her ally again. As the dust settled, the newcomer, a young woman in Gothic attire, stood ready for battle. Arnold's face lit up with relief and surprise as he called out her name. Elle. The battlefield erupts in chaos as Elle is violently struck by a heavy, chained weapon, a pained grunt escaping her lips. Arnold and his other subordinates can only watch in the midst of the fray. The chaos subsides slightly, revealing the enemy leader, who dismissively identifies them as the last of their battalion. Elle, now on her feet, asks if Arnold is unharmed. He confirms he is fine, but reveals he cannot move, paralyzed from the shins down. The enemy leader explains their tactic: a powerful paralyzing poison delivered by their claws, robbing the wounded of their freedom. As the enemy leader gloated, Elle turns her attention to the newly arrived knight, Sakura. She offers a sincere apology, explaining that Envy was poisoned while protecting her and that the enemy's true objective is to capture Arnold. She listens to the apology, her expression troubled. The knight questions Elle's inaction, pointing out that she seems able to move, yet is not fighting. Confused by the accusation, Elle can only ask why she would say such a thing. In response, Elle bluntly states that if the knight has time to apologize, she would be wiser to flee. She declares that Sakura would only slow them down. The knight is taken aback, realizing with a sinking feeling that she cannot argue. She knows she is no match for these foes. Despite her words, Arnold's voice cuts through. He firmly states that leaving his precious subordinates behind to flee is something he could never possibly do. His resolve goes unnoticed by the enemy commander, who observes the scene with satisfaction. The commander notes that with Arnold incapacitated, the provincial troops are no longer a hindrance to their mission and gives the order to eliminate all remaining obstructions. Meanwhile, from a safe vantage point, Sha watches through binoculars. He curses under his breath, frustrated that Elle rushed in on her own and that he must now cover for her. He turns to his hooded companion, Celia, and asks how long she needs. She calmly replies that planning and preparations are important in these situations. He sighs in frustration, noting that he can't find Lai, who is away on a separate mission. Though he considers himself non-combat personnel, he steels his resolve, determined to do his best for everyone's sake as a member of the 35th Frontier Battalion. Below, Elle continues her desperate fight. Back on the battlefield, Arnold lies helpless, watching Elle fend off the enemy alone. He grits his teeth, wondering if there is anything at all he can do. The enemy leader watches with amusement, taunting Elle and questioning just how long she can last on her own. He lay paralyzed on the ground as the masked leader loomed nearby. The assassin's gaze fell upon Arnold's bag, deducing that a magical tool must be hidden inside. The leader's attention was suddenly diverted as Elle hurled a glass vial. It shattered on the ground, erupting into a thick smoke screen that quickly enveloped the area, causing the assassin to recoil in surprise. Coughing within the swirling smoke, Sakura emerged, clutching Arnold's bag. Nearby, Elle watched the dissipating cloud, wondering about the nature of the small vial that had created it. She rushed to Arnold's side, asking if anything in the bag could heal him. He reassured her that he was fine, instructing her to find an antidote within a small blue vial inside. Upon opening the bag, Sakura was stunned to see it was filled with countless vials. Arnold clarified that the antidote was in a vial containing a purifying herb, but then urged her to help Envy and Marybell first, leaving Sakura bewildered by his priorities. As she hesitated, a calm voice cut through the tension. Shu appeared, holding an intricate magical device. He observed the lingering smoke and commented on the cunningness of the tactic. He then turned to Sakura, asking if she was also one of Arnold's subordinates. He gently admonished her not to handle the commander's tools and materials roughly, explaining their precious nature. Sakura was visibly startled to hear Arnold referred to as commander. His expression serious. He held up another device, a circular tool with a glowing sigil at its center. He rhetorically asked if his next action was also cunning, just before activating it. The tool unleashed a blinding flash, forcing the masked assassins to shield themselves. When the light faded, the battlefield was empty. The leader looked around in confusion, wondering aloud if their targets had managed to flee.